The only constant in life is change. Have you ever felt the pressure to adapt to the change surrounding you? Have you wondered how you can not only navigate, but also harness the transformative potential of the latest game changer, GenAI? How not to be swept away by the tide of innovation, but seize control and steer the course of change to your benefit. Let's dive in. I have here with me Andreas Hauser, head of SAP AppHaus, a team of customer innovation experts who are focused on helping customers create business value by incubating new technologies and methods. Andreas, thank you for joining.
Thanks for inviting me today.
So, what are your thoughts on the latest technology, GenAI?
Oh, thank you. It's a really good question. And GenAI is a big wave. And if you look at surfing and you see the really big waves, and if you're a surfer, you need to be very careful that you don't get under the wave into the white water. And I would like to explain, first of all, what GenAI is all about. And you look, why is it such a big wave? ChatGPT came out just a year or a little bit more ago. And within 3 days, they had 1 million users. Unbelievable how fast it is. But what is it all about? I used ChatGPT and asked it, please explain what GenAI is for a kid. And it said, yeah, it's like a magic box that you ask some questions and it creates something completely new for you out of the knowledge that it has. Imagine it is all the knowledge of all books, of the internet and so on. And you ask the GenAI to create either some text, a blog, wants GenAI to talk, even create code, create pictures. And what you see on the screen here is a picture that is created by DALL-E, a tool that where you describe. I said, okay, create a picture with a robot explaining what GenAI is, and I got this kind of picture. It could create videos, and a colleague of mine took a video he created in German, put it into a tool using GenAI, and it translated it to Spanish, and you even see the mouth exactly in the Spanish language. You didn't see the difference. And even also 3D representations and music and much more. Overall, I think it's something really very revolutionary that everybody should start looking at it. And what does this mean for business? Every area will be impacted. If you start with sales and marketing, the way how you create now blogs, how we create articles, so there are pictures. It's really much faster. In education, you can personalize to your needs the learnings. In IT, many possibilities to streamline also processes. In human resource, that it can help you creating job postings, employee productivity, and I use it every day, help me creating better emails, for example. In services, if you look at customer service, having a chatbot that interacts in a more natural with customers. In healthcare, probably if you go to a doctor and you get a document from a doctor describing about what challenges you have, it's written in the language that you typically don't understand. GenAI can it translate into language that you understand, or in risk and legal, it can help you better understanding the legal situations and interpreting. I mean, the use cases everywhere. Now, if you look at GenAI, there are so many people are really excited, and there are lots of opportunities, but there are always, when new technologies are coming out, there are opportunities, but there are also risks that you need to be aware about. And if you look at the opportunities, it can really help you to be more creative and innovative. Yeah? It can come up with new ideas that you didn't think about, to become more productive and more efficient in your processes, in your work, or even personalize things like education or pictures to your individual needs. Now, there are also risks on the flip side. It's looking at the ethics part and bias concerns, because GenAI can only interpret or learn out of data that you brought into. And if the data that GenAI is learning from is already biased, you will get a biased outcome. This means the ethical part is something that you really need to be careful about. And we within SAP, for example, whenever we create a new use case, we have to go through an ethics committee to really make sure that what the results are created are also ethically compliant. Now, another risk is misinformation, or it's also called hallucination, because in Gen AI can only learn out of what you put into it. And the answers could even be wrong. That means there's a risk. You need to be careful about how you interpret it. And for sure, it has also an impact on employees and the skills of employees. People are sometimes afraid of losing jobs, but also reskilling is needed. And if you look back before ChatGPT started, did anybody think there will be new job role for people who create prompts, the way how you put the data in? Nobody thought about this. But it's always, if new technologies are coming out, there are amazing opportunity, but there are also risks that you need to be aware about.
And we all aim to capitalize on the myriad of opportunities while mitigating associated risks. Andreas, with your wealth of experience witnessing numerous game changers come and go, could you share some of your insights?
Definitely. I'm now 33 years working for this amazing company, SAP. And I went through multiple of these technology revolutions. Remember when I started working at SAP, I had better equipment in the office than at home. Mobile didn't exist at that time. And this also revolutionized already during my time the way of working. Now, but what happens is in the new world, it's not the big fish which eats the small fishes. It's the fast fish which eats the slow fishes. And I really like this quote because it shows what happens. If you look at Netflix, Uber, Airbnb, at these companies, they really revolutionized the industry. Now, before Netflix, there were Blockbuster, and they had DVDs and DVD shops, or video cassettes. And some of the older people still remember. These shops don't exist anymore, because they didn't react on the possibilities of the internet. And if you look at these kind of companies where also Uber revolutionized the taxi business, what do these companies have in common? First, they use technology as an enabler of disruption. Yeah? And this is about big data, cloud computing with smartphones. Now it's artificial intelligence or generative AI, the technology as the enabler. Second, they always focused on a superior end-to-end customer experience. I'm not sure whether you ever tried Uber. It's amazing. You take your mobile phone, you say, I would like to get there, taxi's coming, you see when it's arriving. It's a complete different customer experience than if you call just a taxi. It's a complete different customer experience. And this is what they really focus on. And the last one is these companies established a culture of innovation within their organization because you need to constantly adapt to the changing needs of the environment. Now, we talk a lot about innovation, and I would like to explain a little bit what we mean when we talk about innovation. It's creativity multiplied with execution. And you know, we as an AppHaus team, we really intrinsically drive design thinking and really want to understand the needs of people, want to be very creative. But it's not just about creating post-its and ideas. Innovation only matters if you have interesting ideas and then you make it real, getting into the hands of end users and get it live. And therefore, it's a combination of both. And we, within SAP, we created now, we did more than 1,000 customer projects with our AppHaus team. And out of these engagements, we created an approach called SAP's Human-Centered Approach to Innovation, where we combine design thinking and architectural thinking, enterprise architecture, where we have now a process where you get from creativity into execution in a structured way, where you start understanding the needs of the customer at the end user, you step in the shoes of the end user and discover, then you create some mock-ups, you visualize the ideas, then you deliver, and then run and scale. And this is all very, very iterative. That's really important. It is not rocket science, but important is you have to start in the beginning with the people who need to use the solution at the end, and involve everybody from the beginning to the end, business people, technology people, people who understand the needs of the people, business and IT from the beginning on in this project, and then you will be successful. Now, there are 5 key enablers for innovation. For sure, it's the process. Yeah? And we are typically very good in thinking in processes and artifacts and things like that. But there are more elements to really build a culture of innovation within an organization. It's about the people. You need to have a multidisciplinary team. It's about the place, physical place. And the pandemic showed us that it's also about the virtual place or even now the hybrid space. Leadership, the way how you lead teams is a little bit different. And the technology is important. Technology is important to make it real in the real customer environment. And let me dive into a little bit. If you look at the people part, you need to have a multidisciplinary team. Typically in our industry, we have people with business skills and with technology skills. And sometimes we really lack the skills in understanding the needs of the people. And this is where I think typically we also as an AppHaus team come in with design thinking, user research, design skills, helping understand the needs of the people and combining this with business and technology. Now, the space has a big impact. And here you see some pictures of our AppHaus in Heidelberg. It's a creative environment where we co-innovate with customers. And you see the bigger picture here is our big workshop room where we can have host more than 100 people, where we invite customers, work in individual groups in a creative way. You see on the top our kitchen where we typically meet with the team. You see some of our rooms, and what you see here is designed by the team. I empower the team to create the space. And I told them you can buy now a sofa for 500 euro or 5,000. I don't care, but don't go over budget. What happened? People went to second-hand shops. You saw this see these cable rolls on the upper picture. They got them at eBay and they asked, what are you doing with this crap? Wait, Andreas, for 2 weeks. And they created nice tables, and they lasted now for more than 10 years. And the space has an impact, but not only the physical space, but also the virtual space. And now, after the pandemic, the hybrid environment is also important. How do you combine both of that? Now, technology as the enabler. And we at SAP, we are a business company, business software company. And we use the business technology platform as the foundation for all our solutions, like our cloud ERP solutions, our human capital management, spend management, business work, customer relationship management. And all of these solutions are AI powered. We call it business AI, and it's embedded into our solutions. But even you as a customer, you can start already now looking at some probably the 20% cases where you want to innovate fast. If you go to the SAP Discovery Center, which has lots of missions, like use cases, available with reference architecture, with descriptions, how you make it available. And there are also use cases where, or missions available on GenAI. How can you make it real in your very concrete customer situation? Check it out. Last but not least, what I forgot about talking is leadership. And I had the honor to participate at a workshop 2 weeks ago, where we exchanged with leaders from other organizations, from other companies, from multiple companies, on the impact of GenAI on leadership. And this was really eye-opening also for me. And eye-opening for me was that the role of the manager is going to change. And one example I would like to share is that now my role as a leader of a team is, okay, knowing whom to talk with in the company, building up the relationship, building up the network. And then where I got this example that the machine recommended to an employee, oh, by the way, please talk with following person in another organization. He or she is already working on a similar topic. This is where I felt that even GenAI can provide even more value than I could do as a manager or as a leader. That means it has definitely an impact. And we are, I would say, in the beginning of learning what does this mean for leadership. But I wanted to share this example because it was also for me, and just a couple of weeks ago, a little bit eye-opening, that we need to look a little bit more also on what does this mean for leading organizations.
And actually, Andreas, leadership definitely stands as a cornerstone in fostering a culture of innovation within organizations. And as the head of the SAP AppHaus Network, can you shed light on how your team and the SAP AppHaus Network supports customers drive innovation?
Oh, definitely. I'm very happy. You know, the AppHaus is a customer innovation team, and we help to create business value at our customers by incubating new technologies and methods. And latest, we worked for sure on lots of generative AI customer projects. We even created new methods leveraging GenAI. And what we do is making innovation real. Help understand what is the customer problem. This is typically the eye-opening moment on the customer side when business IT and the end users are first time together, physically or virtually, they talk with each other, but then making it real with our SAP Business Technology Platform and our SAP products. And we fundamentally believe it's not just about technology, it's about applying and combining a human-centered approach to innovation, involving the people in this process with the technologies to make it happen. Now, you saw about these 5 pillars: people, process, place, leadership, technology. This is also part of our overall AppHaus concept. And we meanwhile have 22 locations globally, 3 run by SAP in Heidelberg, Berlin, and SAP in Palo Alto, California. And we have 19 partners. These are independent companies who have the same DNA. They all have a creative space. they apply the human-centered approach. They have an interdisciplinary team. That means they have people with design thinking and design skills. They make innovation real with the SAP Business Technology Platform and SAP products. And these partners are typically smaller partners, between 100 and 3,000. There are just a few exceptions, because they are very agile. They are focusing on a certain country, on a certain culture, and they work very close with our market units. And the cool thing here, all these partners together have more than 15,000 employees, and they share all the same mindset. What we do at SAP, we foster this network, we exchange, and now the cool thing is that even some of these partners even work together with each other. And what they do, all of them provide 2 customer success stories per year, or even 2 products on the SAP store. This is what the partner network is. It's like a franchising model, if you look at like Starbucks, but applied to our business world. Now, the next level with the partners, we are going to scale. Scale globally, all over the world, in all different continents. But the big question for me was also, how can we help each individual customer applying a human-centered approach? And SAP has 400,000 customers, 20,000 partners, 40,000 people in our field organization. And how could we change this mindset? And therefore, we offer all our knowledge about our best practices on our AppHaus Toolkit, on our AppHaus webpage, for free for everybody, for all customers, for all partners. Check it out. And there are really great tools like scenes where you can create user stories. Or our latest workshop format is a GenAI Explore workshop format. And the goal is to identify in this workshop GenAI use cases that really create a business impact. What we have here, we have a description, how long does it take, what people you should invite. We even have a mural template and best practices that you can use if you would like to run this workshop. That means everything pre-packaged. You can just use it. Feel free also send us your feedback. I think we got extremely good feedback so far, because what we learned, that many of the use cases and challenges customers bring into workshops cannot be solved with GenAI, because if your data is not consistent, as an example, GenAI cannot really solve that. You need to, first of all, get your data integrated. But it's really a good starting point for everybody. Now, I talked about the AppHaus. We have had last year our 10th anniversary. And you see here a picture of Tim Brown. It's one of the founders of IDEO. He's chair of IDEO. This is the company who brought design thinking into the business world 20 years ago. And this was also when SAP started the design thinking journey, when Hasso Blattner was reading an article about design thinking before he went on stage at Sapphire. This was 2004. He went on stage and said, SAP now does design thinking. And the reason we asked him afterwards why he said it, he said, now it remembered him how they started the company. He was a developer sitting beside the user, showing and iterating with the user. And at that time, 20 years ago, SAP unlearned how to work with customers and users because we globalized and specialized. And he brought then design thinking into the SAP world. We continued the last 20 years evolving the methodology with the AppHaus, also making it open for customers and partners. And I had the opportunity to talk with Tim Brown, chair of IDEO, and explaining what we do with our AppHaus network. He congratulated us and said, it's remarkable what you achieved. All your competitors tried, but you succeeded. This was, for me, a big, big honor to get this quote from somebody who really transformed the industry. Now I talked a lot about the AppHaus. I would like to talk about some customers, because this is what finally matters. I would like to tell you some quick stories. One is Döhler. Döhler specializes, or they revolutionized the product discovery with natural language access and recommendations. And they produce, they have ingredients to create, for example, drinks. And they have more than 500,000 ingredients. And they have a team. If a customer, for example, says, I would like to create a new drink for a summer drink in a pinky color, fruity with grapefruit and certain spices, then the team was creating potential receipts for them. And this is now created by generative AI. It simplifies now the process for the team and also significantly improves the customer experience. I really like this because it shows the power of how you can improve the customer experience and also simplify the work for the people within your organization. A second example is AMD. And AMD, you know, company focusing really, it's a global high-tech company, also building chips and more things, graphics processors and things like that. And they use now generative AI to solve supply chain hurdles with generative AI. And they use for sure the SAP Business Technology Platform. And the challenge that they had, and you probably remember when the pandemic started, there was a shortage of chips. Yeah? And they really wanted to improve their service. And for example, whenever a sales order is delayed, the date is changing of a sales order, they have a team who analyzes the reason for this delay. And these are 14 steps. And now with generative AI, they can reduce this time by 90%. And even then suggest an email answer to the customer. Same case as before, with generative AI, they would like to improve the customer experience, but also making sure that they stay to the commitments when they deliver. Also a really great example that the AppHaus team also engaged with, like in the Döler example. Now, what is my recommendation or my recommendations? I told you about this big wave. Learn about GenAI now. I think it's important. It's not something that you can wait. It is moving so fast. It's unbelievable. Every day, new tools are popping up that you can do amazing things with. Leverage our human-centered approach, and you find all tools, best practices, templates on our AppHaus Toolkit that you can use for free, and foster a culture of innovation within our organization. Now, learning how to ride a wave takes time. If you look at the surfer, if you ride such a big wave, this takes years to make it happen. And the reason why I bring this example, not only because I'm a passionate kite surfer, not really surf on waves, but I like kite surfing. But I like this analogy. Also in kite surfing, if you want to be really a good kiter and jump high, it takes years. Yeah? And I even broke my foot sometime, and then 1 year later, I continued kite surfing. Why do I tell you this story? Because if you have a passion for something, you learn, you heal, you iterate, and you continue, and it takes time. Thank you so much for listening today. Here are some links about our approach, the network, the toolkit. If you have any questions, reach out to me directly or apphaus@sap.com. And I hope you enjoyed the session today and hope you enjoyed the content.
Thank you so much, Andreas. It was a pleasure listening to you. And of course, thank you so much for providing so much content and methodologies for free. And I would like to start with the questions. We have a couple of questions in the chat. And now you talked about, what people should do, how, the 3 steps they should approach. But I have a question here. How should normal people start learning about GenAI in general and at SAP?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. My recommendation is try it out. use ChatGPT. There are free tools available. You will be amazed what you can do with it. And that's really the first recommendation. Start with it on your own, make your own experience with it, creating texts, creating pictures, even creating videos. You will see what big benefit this will get. But also, if you want to understand more about SAP and what generative AI means in the SAP context, there's a great open SAP course. If you enter Google Open SAP course, generative AI SAP, you will find it, where Philip Hetzig is explaining very nicely also what the impact is, how SAP is dealing with it. And that's probably a good starting point.
Great, thank you very much. And then you were talking about ethics before in your presentation. I have one question here from your perspective. What are the most critical ethical considerations that companies should address when deploying AI technologies to serve customers?
Yeah, I think probably most people don't think about it at all. They just use it and then don't think about the potential impact from an ethical point of view. Yeah? Now, imagine somebody enters, I talked about this Döler example. If you start using words like something for Black people or terms that you don't want to really be used, now how should the machine react? And I think this is something where you should be aware about. And it really depends on also the data that you use to input. And I think getting aware, and SAP also published information about ethics. We are really part of a bigger community here. And that's really a core topic for us. Every use case that we develop at SAP needs to go through an ethics governance, just to make sure that the ethics aspect is considered in the discussion. Because very often also developers are sometimes, for sure, I think I was also a developer when I started. You're sometimes lazy, you don't think about these kind of things. Yeah? But I think it's important to govern it also in the right way. And to get awareness within the organization that ethics plays an important role.
Great, thank you. And the next question, how do you think businesses can effectively incorporate customer feedback and insights into the development and execution of innovation projects?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. And I'll probably tell you one story, a very concrete story. There was a customer, they had big boilers. And they have in the factory, and they have people who inspect them day by day. Once a month, and then the people who do the inspection, they have to fill out 8 sheets of documents. Now they built in the IT organization a mobile team, and they said, "Oh, let's put this document as a PDF on an iPhone and give it to the end user." And we said, "You know what? Let's go, before we do this, we go into the factory and observe how these people work." And it was just 2 hours getting into the factory. What we saw, somebody with a yellow dress, with big gloves, coming out of this big boiler dirty. That means the iPhone was not the right device. And when we looked at the data on these sheets of paper, we found that 95% of the data was already in the system. It was master data. The result was an application with 5 fields. And I encourage just stepping into the shoes of the real end users where they work is a very first step that we should do everywhere. Yeah. And one hurdle that we always have when we work with customers and we talk with the people in IT, we very often hear, "Oh, we don't need to go to the end users. We don't have time for it. I worked in this role for 20 years and I can tell you exactly what it is." But then we say, if you want to engage with us, it's mandatory, just 2 hours. And always the response is, "We should have done this 10 years ago because we had different assumptions. And this means it is not rocket science, but it is also a mind shift change in the organization to really focus on the needs of the customers and users. But one important remark, don't listen to everything what they say. Yeah? Yeah, because, and make another example, I was more than 20 years ago in China and observing an end user with 20 invoices on his desk and hundreds of them, and entering 20 of them into the system and putting 20 times refresh. And I said, what are you doing now? Oh, the system is now calculating in 5% of the cases. I get notified that something needs to be adopted. And I said, oh yeah, what do you think about usability of it? Amazing, I really love it. But he didn't know that we could use OCR to automate this process and push only the 5% cases to him. That means match what you hear from the users, what is technically feasible, and then come with the right solution for the end user.
Cool. Thank you for sharing. We have another question in the chat. How important is it for companies to foster a culture of experimentation and risk-taking to drive successful innovation projects, especially when incorporating AI from a customer perspective?
You know, I think it's, from my point of view, very important. Yeah? If you look at, I think, older organizations, it's very much top-down driven, and also sometimes in certain cultures. In the new world, things are moving so fast. You cannot long-term run an organization in that way. That means you need to empower employees to become creative and come up with own ideas. That means they need to be allowed to also experiment, to fail. Fail early is much better than you start building a product where you invest a lot of money and you don't succeed. But failing means also learning out of and not making the same mistake now 10 times. But I think it's really, really important, and it starts with leadership, that leaders need to also encourage trying things out. And for sure, there are also boundaries, and the same with me. Because I run the innovation team, on the one side, it's very clear what we need to achieve as a team. On the other side, I need to give just the boundaries, but let the people experiment in these boundaries, and come up with new ideas. And I think it's really important for long-term success. And therefore, I think the experimenting, trying things out, failing early, and this is a cultural thing that need to be also really supported from top to down. Yeah? And that's a question of leadership also.
Thank you very much. Then there's a question. I don't quite understand it. Ram Pawar, maybe you can be more specific. How much scope in SAP? I think you were talking about the design thinking approach, and that's where he asked how much scope in SAP. Does it tell you something, or do you need more information?
I hope that I could interpret it in the right way. You know, we started more than 20 years ago, about 2004, with getting design thinking into SAP. We started with educating development, later on the sales organization. It was ups and downs, but we still have this in our culture. And I think and we evolved the methodology. I told you we combined design thinking with design doing, but also with an enterprise architecture. And I think that's also important to look at what finally matters. What I see very often when people talk about design thinking, they are too much focusing on methodologies. And it's too much creating post-its and generating ideas. I personally don't talk too much about design thinking because I talk about the results. I talk about the project at Döhler, the project at AMD, the business success that we created. And as a second thing, then see, okay, how did you achieve it? it's just a vehicle to make it happen. And what I see in the industry, and is also what I think why many organizations fail, also innovation teams fail, is because they only focus on one part and overemphasize this part. And I think it's complementing business, technology, and the human aspect, what we always preach. But I tell you, when I talk to designers, and sometimes I'm at design conferences or at universities, and then I get the feedback from designers, we're seen like artists and not really accepted. And I said, yeah, but you have to drink your own champagne, because the design thinkers and designers, they preach to business and to technology people. You have to involve the users, you have to apply the methodology and so on. But when they're in the project and it's about business and technology, I'm just a designer, I'm just focused on this part. No. As a designer and design thinker, you have to understand about business, at least the basics, and some basics about technology. You have to drink your own champagne. And therefore, I think the people in the design thinking, design world who focus too much just on their bubble, for sure, they come from an education point of view out of the artist area, from the creativity part. But what matters in business are results. And I think you need to find the right combination and really connect the creativity with business results and business value for our customers. I hope I could answer the question.
Thank you very much. Actually, this brings me to a question. I mean, working with the user groups, our customers, and we often hear that their innovation projects fail.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are, according to your experience, what are the key factors that contribute to the failure of projects, innovation projects, and how can businesses mitigate these risks?
And there are multiple reasons why projects fail. One is sometimes often in cultures, green lighting. That means the projects are to the top management always reported somehow that they are green, and they don't really tell it like it is. Sometimes leaders even don't want to hear about this. And I think this is something that you need to have a culture in the organization where people can speak up. I think that's definitely an important element. And sometimes when you stop projects early, if you find out early that it's not going to succeed, you stop it. And there are many reasons why I think the projects fail. But from my point of view, I think it's pretty simple. Involving all people that you need to make this project a success on the customer side and in your organization from the beginning on. Iterate about what is really the problem, visualize the ideas, and if it's just drawing this on a whiteboard or in a mural or then in a design tool, what I learned is the picture says more than 1,000 words. If you look at a screen which is drawn with a couple of fields on, the developer can tell you, oh, this is not working from a performance point of view. Or the user says, this doesn't help me, or whatever. I think this is fundamentally, it's also what design thinking is about. Prototyping early, visualizing the ideas, and I showed you scenes as an example, which is a tool to visualize user stories. Check it out for free, you will love it. It's a great opportunity to visualize user stories without having drawing skills, and then creating mock-ups, visualizing the ideas. I think this is where you have a higher probability to be successful. You can still fail, but the probability to succeed with a project is much higher.
Thank you very much. I think we don't have any open questions. There is one question with a smiley behind it. I think it's a great ending. Are you already planning a design thinking GenAI bot?
That's a good question. We already thought about it. Yeah. I like it. Yeah. And I think we had this, honestly, that my team had this idea even 2 years ago, before the GenAI wave, where we said we have all this knowledge about methods and tools on our webpage. Couldn't we create a chatbot, and which methodologies to use when? But it's a great reminder again. Sometimes we also forget about it. Thank you for bringing this topic up.
Fetch it out of the drawer. Okay,
Yeah.
and with this, I would really like to thank you, Andreas, for your time and sharing all your insights and knowledge. It was great having you here. And of course, a great thanks to all attendees for joining and listening to us and for sharing your questions and insights. And with
Thank you
this,
so much for inviting me.
my pleasure.